Hey guys, XJ9 here, and today I'm going to read Combat Beta Update number 5. I actually have not read this yet, and I just noticed this, so you're gonna get my raw opinion on these changes. So, let's read a bit. Critical strike damage. So let's just read what they did. In the last beta patch, critical strikes felt a little too underwhelming. Getting a crit on a low damage roll would put you just above your max hit, so we're putting a bit of previous root power back into crits. I don't have an issue with this as long as, it depends on what else they change. Level 90, all styles changed from 35% to 50% crit. I believe, let's actually look at the RuneScape. What was the previous crit chance for Necromancy? Was it 50? It might have been 50. Yeah, it was 50%. So Necromancy, so all styles are the same. Anything past 90, so with Necromancy, for example, going to 120, is just accuracy and a little bit of damage. Getting levels isn't a whole lot of damage. So that's just an interesting little bit of context. Adjusted the damage of guaranteed critical strike abilities such as Sound Tendrils, Smoke Tendrils to take into account their extra guaranteed damage. So do they do more now, or did they lower it because critical strikes do a little bit more again? Like I guess we have to trust them there. I don't know. Critical strike adrenaline buff. Reduce the adrenaline from critical strike effects such as tsunami. Left players a bit high and dry. We're upping the adrenaline gain, which with the base critical strike chance and higher critical strike damage should make pop off modes a bit more impressive. Again, I'm not a big fan of this direction of the game because I think 6% was a really it only really affected range, and even then, I don't think people should be spamming Darkbow in their rotations. Like the reason that mutating Dazing Shot is never used, or rather creating Dazing Shot with Puncture isn't never used, is just because why even do that if you can just use Darkbow and other abilities? I think that those arrows that if you use Great Dazing Shot into Great Ricochet, and you'll get instantly 8 stacks of puncture, have a lot of potential, but yeah, not with these changes. Fury. Fury now hits once and is no longer a channel ability. Amended its damage to account for this. Average damage 110%. I kind of wish they said the previous damage. You know, increases the critical strike chance of your next melee ability by 10%. Cooldown was 5.4 seconds and now it's 15 seconds. So pretty interesting because now you don't need to own Greater Fury, just a Revolution, some mobs. I will say though that one thing I didn't test in the beta was they did apparently fix channeled abilities. So if your channel ability such as Assault kills an Abyssal Beast, you won't just stall. I think they said they fixed that. So um, owning Greater Fury wasn't as important in the beta. So, but I guess they're kind of streamlining it now. Because people still complain that Old Fury is better in some situations compared to Greater Fury on live, like against poisonable targets. Greater Fury. So what is their reasoning for this? I already know what they're doing. With the previous beta iteration, we re-added the variants of Greater Fury. Players expressed they prefer to be a consistent source of critical strikes. You know, I'll be honest. I think it's funny that when they make variants, people don't like it, but then they want this to be consistent. I almost feel like players don't like it. Doesn't really make much sense, don't you think? Like they say they don't like they like variants, but then when they have variants, they say they don't like it. You know? I think that's just really funny. Here they're saying they don't like they don't like the variants. Then like over here you see they like they like a bit more consistency of the variants. Like that doesn't really make much sense. I'm just saying that doesn't really make any sense in terms of like overall design. Um, so now it's the cooldown is 15 seconds of Greater Fury, and now your next ability, melee ability within 15 seconds, is guaranteed a critical strike. The one thing that's interesting about Greater Fury, I will say, is that if you use overpower the Zuck ability where you fly in the air and do a double hit if you have the melee Zuck cape, it'll only make the first hit 100% crit chance. The what is it called? What's the other ability called? Chaos Roar benefits all hits. So if you do declaws on Chaos Roar, it'll benefit that. Well, does it do that? I think it does. Yeah, yeah, it does benefit all hits. Um, so Greater Fury is mostly good for I don't know, maybe like AGS or something. I mean, it's good by default. Like even if you do Greater Fury Dragon Claws, your first hit of Dragon Claws is going to crit, which is the first hit does the most damage. So, Laying Swords, Primary Ice is now stored on the player, was previously stored on target. Primary Ice now reduces the cost of Icy Tempest by 6% per stack. Um, Primordial Ice back stacks was 20, now it's 10. I don't have a big issue with this because I think 20 was a little overkill, and you mostly want to cast this in Zerg. If the target has like 8 to 10 stacks, it's usually gonna do like a 20k, 20k plus, like sometimes even 28k, 28k. So I think, yeah, because it's kind of hard to get 20 stacks. Even at Zamorak, when I was doing speed kills, like it takes a while to get 20 stacks. So this is actually a surprising change, to be honest. Also, Sword of the Player is interesting. I'm guessing your main target will take the main, obviously the main damage, and I'm not sure if the side targets take because there's what the main hit, which is your main target. Then there's an AOE. I forget if the AOE is enhanced by the stacks. I think it is. So now I think these swords are really good at AOEing, which is kind of funny. So like Solak, let's just say we're doing Solak legs, okay? And I have 10 stacks on me above my on my bar pre as a buff. If you use it, you're gonna hit like a 20k 20k on the leg, and then the other leg's gonna take a 20k from the AoE, I think. Um, so what was the reasoning? We're making Lings a little more frosty. Players expressed the new special was making them feel a little adrenaline starved versus live hurricane. While we don't think Lings should outright generate adrenaline, we can reduce our costs and push players more towards a flurry of hits playstyle. Oh, is this what this is trying to replace? I just realized that. Am I funny? I literally just realized. Wait a second. This is like Hurricane. I honestly didn't realize. Oops. That's kind of funny. Oops. That's really funny. I'm a really funny guy. Um, the cost of AP Tempest. I think this is overall a good change. I like that it's stored on you now. I think also because it's stored on you, when you go to on another different target, you don't just instantly lose the stacks. Um, Also, I think this is like 30% adrenaline, so if you have 5 stacks, I think it's free. That's pretty insane. I think that's a very good buff because when I did melee, it just didn't feel satisfying because, yeah, because like they said, because they got rid of the adrenaline from these swords, and I'm assuming it's mostly with people who aren't using the Mask of the not the Best of the Abyss, Jaws of the Abyss helmet. They're having I was having adrenaline issues to be honest, and now because it's like a free ability, like, oh, I have 5 stacks. This is a free ability. Do I use it now or do I wait till 10? I think that's pretty cool. I actually like this because this is like a very necromancy esque type of a ability with a weapon, which I like. I like it when it's like, I mean, like this is good. This is good. I'm very surprised about that. Bow Last Guardian, balance by force, average damage was 200%, now it's 245%. Peak perfect equilibrium store damage was 30%, now it's 35%. So balance of force is obviously the special attack. Perfect equilibrium is I believe the if I hit a 10k, it's 35% of the 10k. I think I don't know. It's something like that. I think it's like 10k plus the 35. It's something like that. I don't even know. I'm honestly, but it's a buff, guys. Okay. With previous changes to a dark bow and its special attack, the bow of Last Guardian felt slightly underwhelming versus live game. We're adding back some of that power. Yeah. To be honest, the spamming dark bow is worse than spamming the bow Last Guardian. I kind of don't mind this because I kind of like using bow Last Guardian. It's not good to spam necessarily, but it's good in some instances. But yeah, I'd rather you have to use and wield a tier 95 bow and use a special than spam dark bow and necklace. So I don't really mind. So changes to wind arrows. Special abilities now also consume icy chill. I already like this. Update the base damage and hit chance increase for each icy precision stack. Threshold abilities were 2%, now it's 3%. Ultimate abilities was 3% unchanged. Special abilities was 0%, now it's 3%. What's the reasoning? When arrows were a bit too complex and a little too underpowered to make them viable anywhere, we're simplifying them to make them a better option when players need a hit chance boosting ammo. Note this is still a work in progress, so may be prone to bugs/issues. I like that they again more information is better. Okay. I do like this because it honestly kind of annoyed me that you couldn't just like let's say I'm PVMing and I'm doing a boss fight. Maybe your hit chance sucks. I didn't like that there was never like an arrow you could just camp. The only arrow I could really think of was I think they're the death spore arrows with the crit chance, and the free ability, but then you can't control when you want, your free ultimate ability or whatnot. Maybe they should honestly do with that arrow that you can't, maybe like, oh, only consume the special effect with special abilities or something, because those arrows, it's kind of bad to camp it. At least I think, but it's kind of nice to camp at those arrows at the same time because the 3% crit chance is very nice. I do like this stuff because again, the biggest issue with these arrows was it didn't benefit special abilities, and you spam the hell out of special abilities, and also they buff threshold abilities, and yeah, um, it's interesting they buff threshold abilities though, but maybe it's just to make it even with specials because again, the big issue with range on live is that you don't really use thresholds besides rapid fire, and yeah, snapshot is good, but it's like everything else, no, like not really. Um, Again, like this buffs like smoke tendrils, no shadow tendrils a lot. Very underused ability, but probably for good reason. Um, I wonder if you're gonna just take a lot more damage from shadow tendrils because if you get hit at 30k shadow tendrils, don't you like PK yourself? I think they did a change though, so you don't get destroyed. So I think overall this is very good because now you can camp these arrows and not have to use full arrows. Like you don't have to use full arrows, and yeah, that just seems pretty good. Like this is a very good Virago arrow now, like for sure. So I like this a lot. I like this change a lot. It makes it a lot more simple. Um, I remember when these arrows were released. If I looked at an old Reddit thread, people would like, "Oh, when arrows were really good," but like not really because they don't work on special attacks, which was kind of a bummer. So I actually don't mind this change. Quest bosses. With the changes to damage potential for the last beta combined with high defenses, several quest bosses were extremely tanky. Yeah, they are. Some of the quest bosses are harder than some bosses. We've increased your hit chance against them and up their HP to compensate. Making these fight a smoother experience. See, HP is the mechanic, guys. Increase the base hit chance of all the following bosses who use standard base hit chances. As example, the Bouncer had a 10 base hit chance when fought with magic. This has been increased to the standard 45. Bouncer, I think, is uh one of the Dream of Lunar Isle or something. Haunted Mine, HP increased. You can just read these if you want. I'm just kind of looking at them. Dominion Tower. The Everlasting was buffed a little bit, but the hit chance is low. Pest Queen. Oh, that's a pretty big buff. Oh, this is a really big buff because if you have a 100% hit chance on a Pest Queen, although it doesn't really matter because you won't splash. Like the issue with live is when I was doing Dominion Tower recently, I think like 3 months ago. If your special can splash like 2 times in a row, even with like 80% hit chance, 80% hit chance. Dominion Tower HP 100,000. Barrel chest, Holy Grail. Wow, that's a look at this, dude. The noobs are gonna have an epic fight with the black. I think that Black Knight Titan is like a big fight now, guys. The bouncer. Oh, the bouncer's at the fight arena. Wow, that's a big fight now too for noobs. I don't mind that. I actually like. I would like it if quest bosses were more memorable like that. I actually like these changes because they're just way too easy. I like these changes a lot to the quest bosses. I think they should definitely be more memorable. Um, if you saw AOD here, I think people would flip out. Um, they're fixing an issue when where using the certain Gobble special attack Crystal Rain on blocked NPCs wouldn't work as expected. Um, I'm assuming like they're stuck or something. Fix a number of issues with magic ability animation properties. So overall, these are actually some pretty good changes. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, Again, I don't know. I feel like this is such a big band aid, and I don't know. I hope eventually they just rework these abilities. To be honest, I really do. Like the biggest thing I don't like about it is that you can use Tsunami and then go to melee range and benefit. Like I don't like that stuff because it's such a small percentage of players. It's like literally like less than 1% probably that even do that. And again, like it's not even like a net gain in kills usually. It's either not a net gain in the amount of kills per hour or barely a net gain. So it's like what purpose does it really serve besides potential balance issues? Like, oh, we made a new boss. Well, what if people are just gonna buff and juice and skip the hard for phase one or something? You know, um, And yeah, yeah, I think overall this is pretty good. I will say as well, the Greater Fury change. I actually like this because I have this up a lot. Like, there's a lot of interesting abilities to use with melee, like Decimate and Sever. Sever is a really strong ability because it reduces damage by 10% for like, I think like two abilities from monsters usually. It's like 7 seconds, I think. Uh, I this is very necromancy esque where you use this situationally instead of spamming it. So I actually like this. I think these changes, the Link Sword, Greater Fury, are very, very good. The Wind Arrow is very good. The Quest Bosses is very good. Bolascari is understandable. And the critical strike damage, I understand it. But again, like, are they just solidifying that leveling a skill past 90 is just for the accuracy and small damage boost, you know? And I don't have an issue with that. Like, maybe they're just not ready for that level of power creep or something, you know, where 120 gives you that much more crit chance. So, yeah, a little bit clarity here on what they're, you know, what is the point of 120? Like, is it just there? Is it just for future content when it's ready? Like, I would appreciate if they actually said something about that. But yeah, overall, like this is actually a very good update. So I don't even think I need to really test this overall. Um, like I will say that when I did these other styles, they honestly felt miserable. Like Mage was still able to nuke Zamorak easily. Uh, Magic still felt the same with the critical strike buff. Mostly, um, again, the biggest sufferer was probably range, but again, they did nerf the dark bow special, so who knows? Maybe it's better to spam equilibrium bow instead of dark bow specials. Like, you only use dark bow when you have 100% of dread, so you can build back up. You know. Um, I will say that they also said that the Bow Asgardi that they're trying to balance around not spamming. Like, it's still good to use, but they said it's supposed to be like an extra effect of using the special. So we'll see how that goes. Um, yeah, I don't know. Overall, it's pretty good. Like, I mean, I know it's kind of funny because, you know, my last video I went kind of buck wild, but like, you know, I don't do it out of hate, man. I really don't. Like, you know, I mean, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Bye.